If you're watching this channel, you probably have some kind of interest in Vodou or ATRs. And if you do have interest, you've by now probably seen the ceremonies that people post online or snippets or the live that when they go live with their ceremony to share it with you. And you might be interested in going. But before you actually make the leap and you're about to head over to your first ceremony, I feel like there's a few things that you might want to know to keep yourself on pace and to make sure that you're conducting yourself properly, especially if it's your first ceremony. You want to make sure that you're not doing anything to accidentally offend anybody and you're paying your respects properly. So, first off, I always tell people to be respectful. And by respect, I don't mean like the average, don't be rude, don't yell at people, like just respecting others. Like that goes without saying. But I mean be spiritually respectful. This is a Vodou ceremony. It can seem a little jarring, and sometimes not everybody gives it the respect it deserves, but you need to understand that you're going into a place with spiritual significance. This is a ritual that this person has decided to conduct on behalf of their guiding spirits or ancestors or spirit groups. And so you want to treat it with the utmost level of respect. Sometimes you are not you're not just on the phone doing whatever. You're not yelling, you're not causing a ruckus, you're not dancing any kind of way. You're following the lead of the people guiding the ceremony. There have been I've seen even people hosting ceremonies fall victim to not treating their ceremony with proper respect. Like just a quick story time here. I remember I was at this ceremony years ago. Like I was a teenager, and the season of ceremony in South Florida, it was so fun. I love it. It's like right around every month that we're hosting people are hosting ceremonies. We're in the habit of just going like on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and you just have a way of finding that address that it just kind of they start that WhatsApp text thread, and people will come to your ceremony. Now the thing is that I went to this person's ceremony down in Miami, and he got into a whole fight with his son, like a verbal, not physical fight. And I remember we're in the middle of a ceremony. They're doing presentations. I'm watching. I've got a soda in my hand. We're chilling, just enjoying the vibe for a bit. And his son comes in, pissed AF. He is just going crazy in this house, yelling at his dad, yelling at, they're something was being disputed at that time. And next thing I know, they're walking into the front door, through going into the hallway, and the ceremony was in this person's house. And so we are sitting there in their living room. All the extra chairs are there. They've already moved out their couches and everything. It's just ceremony space. We're all just staring at each other like, I know it can be hard when it comes to family, and obviously he did not think that this was going to happen. But a lot of people, sometimes I feel like they don't get the gist of what you're up to right now. Whether it's the person hosting the ceremony not understanding how not conveying the importance of that ceremony to their family, and or you going to that ceremony, it is definitely not a time to act a fool. And you already knew this, I'm sure, but an extra reason why is because this is a spiritually significant moment. You need to treat this in a very similar way to church. I know foolishness happens in church as well, but there's an almost expectation that you're going to do your best. You're going to present your best self in church because it's an important and spiritually significant venue. Vodou ceremonies are the same thing. We might not be dressed the same. We might not, on the surface, look like we're doing the same thing, but we are honoring our greatest good. And you want to make sure that you understand the importance of the ceremony. So, the second little tip here for you is to stay on pace with the leaders. There is nothing that pisses me off more than somebody who wants to backseat drive a ceremony. I'll there and this is and the rest of these tips are mostly for the crowd, not even have much to do with the ceremony and leaders. But oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how often. Maybe I'm looking at a ceremony and you recognize that there's a pace. Most people have a certain itinerary. They know when they're going to sing this song, when they're going to present this food. They have a vibe of how they want to go with the ceremony. You know what I mean? They have a plan. But you know, you absolutely know there's going to be this random person who maybe they're at the beginning of the ceremony and they're honoring a specific spirit. Maybe, you know, a feminine spirit. They're in that time, and out of nowhere, somebody decides that they're going to sing a whole different song at the very other end of the ceremony, like maybe something for Gede. Now, the feminine spirits are in one group. The Gede, the dead, the after, those who represent the afterlife and ancestry, they're a whole different group. We do not sing for them at the same time. We do not honor them at the same time. Most people don't even acknowledge the Gede while they're doing ceremony that while they're doing most of their ceremonies. Maybe like at the end you might see someone like, you know, sing a song or something, but the majority of the times we don't really honor Gede during most ceremonies, and if they are, it's very much at the end. So I hate it when I see someone doing something for one group, and out of nowhere, somebody else comes out and they're just like, "Oh, here I go. Hello, happy to see you." And I'm like, stay on pace with the leaders of the ceremony. It is almost, it's not just annoying, it is just disrespectful because someone had a whole plan for their crap and then you want to come out of nowhere and then just kind of change the whole thing. Please don't do that. If you don't know the pace of the ceremony, watch, you will understand. Now, something else about staying on pace is there's a change that some people go through when they go between what's called white spirits and or cool spirits and fiery spirits. They're not white in color and or race. They are white in temperament. That means that there's no drinking, there's no smoking. The drum rhythms are a little bit softer, and they're literally in always a softer category of spirit, a cooler category in spirit. And so before you finish honoring them, there are some voodoo houses that do not drink, they don't smoke, and they don't pass out those items to the crowd. And so pay attention to that, because you don't want to be the person who's trying to like pop open a beer can or something in the time where that's not actually allowed in the ceremony quite yet. Like, we'll get there, wait a couple hours, or like you'll be fine, but you need to pay attention to that because that's actually kind of disrespectful to the part of the ceremony that we are in. So stay on pace with the leaders. You know, general rule of thumb, what they do, you're going to do. If they tell you something, that's the way that you're going to make things happen. And if you don't understand, language is a barrier for you because maybe this is being hosted in Creole and you don't speak or you're not fluent, then watch. You know, it's not that hard to understand as you pay more attention what is going on. Now, afterwards we have connect but with respect. Traditionally, this Instagram, social media, YouTube, TikTok thing was not a thing. And so if you wanted clients, if you wanted to connect with Vodouisans, if you wanted to understand more about Vodou in general, you are going to go to someone's house. You are going to go to their ceremony. Just like that season of ceremony I told you about, you wait until the season comes and you basically work the Vodou circuit. And it's usually the similar crowds of people, similar groups and everything. And you do your best to kind of put the name out of the ceremony there, because that is how you're going to connect with other Vodouisans in the community. But you want to connect with a bit of respect as well. There are different reasons why people go to ceremony. One, networking, for sure. And sometimes building your business. It is hard to find Vodou practitioners and start building your clientele just by staying home all the time. And so you go to ceremony for that sake. Some people go to ceremony for the sake of networking with other practitioners and or finding clientele. Now, there are cues that you can take to understand. Some of these people, especially if they're priest or priestess, they will go out of their way to dress like a priest or priestess. They will have personal seamstresses make their outfits from head to toe matching, and like with like maybe one or two different kinds of cloth, and they will design their outfits because there's almost a pageantry to it, you know. There's a vibe that, you know, the best dressed, the most authentic, like these dresses are not stuff you can really find at the store. We have them made. You know that that's probably a priest or priestess who took the time to do all that, and that's their signal. And that this is also a little bit of why you might see some people go off pace in a ceremony or trying to bring attention to themselves when they shouldn't, because traditionally, before social media, that was the networking event. And we don't even need to get into those problems. Maybe I'll do some story times. Put some questions in the comment, and maybe I will do some story times for you guys of things that I've seen in the ceremony. Now, the other group is usually the practitioner. They want to find a priest or priestess because they want a spiritual leader. They want to do spiritual work. Maybe they want to book you for something that they need in their personal lives. You know, whatever the reason may be, they're on the lookout for a priest or priestess, okay? And so while they're connecting with each other, you need to make sure that you're doing that with respect, you know? You're not overwhelming the ceremony. You're not making it about you. And if you are in that client situation and you want to talk to the priest or priestess, the middle of the ceremony is not the best time to do it. They are leading the ceremony. They're in the middle of doing all this stuff. You taking them aside to talk to them about this, it's like they're already so busy, they don't have time for you. They don't. No, they do not have time for you. Please note this. If you really want to talk to a ceremony, to a priest or priestess of a ceremony, the best time to do it is all the way at the end of the ceremony. The end. Because right before the ceremony, they're busy as hell, building everything up, taking care of things, and making sure that they can start on time, or just start if it's not on time, and have everything set and ready to go. During the ceremony, they're leading everything. After the ceremony is really when they're done. But ceremonies can end at all hours, anytime. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m. The ceremony is still not done. And because it finishes when it finishes. There's no such thing as like, we don't really put constraints on these kinds of things. You move and flow the way that it felt like it should have gone, okay? And so if you don't want to just wait because maybe you have to go, you have work in the morning, or you can only stop by, look out for the people who are helping the priestess. These are usually people of their spiritual house or their spiritual children, and you wait for your opportunity to pull one of them aside who is not too busy and get the phone number of that priestess. They probably have it. Save that phone number or whatever, and you can follow up with them afterwards. But do not take the time to interrupt that ceremony for yourself, because they're too busy to help you anyways, and they're too busy to talk, and that's not the best time to do it. Now, in terms of the final tip here, it's going to be establish your purpose for your ceremony before you get there. I've talked a little bit about why people go to ceremonies. You need to decide why you're going to your ceremony, for sure. And I say this because it's when you know your purpose, you can act accordingly. You know whether or not you're going there because you're trying to build your business. You know if you're trying to find a priest or priestess that you vibe with. You know if you just, some people just want to be around Vodou. Maybe they don't have a spiritual house and they want to feel that connection. They haven't felt it in a while. Other people, you know, they're displaced from their spiritual community. Maybe it's far away. They don't get to make it out so often. And so your ceremony or this ceremony nearby is the closest they'll get to what feels like home. Some people, they're looking, you know, to create problems. But that's another story. And regardless of where you are there, you want to state your intentions before you leave the house. And that means lighting a candle and getting a cup of water, pouring libations for the spirits you know walk with you. If you are a devotee, active practitioner, then announcing your intentions even before you go, you know, letting them know what you're looking for, having them help guide you towards the truth that you need to know. Whether maybe this practitioner is not for you, you want to set those intentions. Maybe this community is for you. You want to identify those signs. You want to set that intention so that you can walk in your purpose properly. And you want to do so before you've even finished, you know, but before you even finish getting ready, you should already have that in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? For practitioners, you also might want to get do the same thing, but create limitations on yourself. You know, if you don't want to get mounted, you might want to set that attention. And before you leave the house, maybe you don't want to feel so vulnerable in somebody else's ceremony because this isn't your spiritual house and you don't feel open enough to do that. Then set that intention before you go home. I mean, before you go to the venue that you're heading off to. Lastly, because you don't always know what's going to happen in the ceremony, and it's not your own ceremony, just like most parties in life and stuff, there are people there, and people can sometimes create problems. So if you're going to go to a ceremony, try and bring a friend. There's definitely safety numbers, and I'm not saying that something bad is going to happen. Most of the time you'll be fine. Like, most people don't deal with problems. Like, if you don't create beef, you're probably not going to be in beef. But it certainly helps to have a friend there who can experience the ceremony with you, and who can go through the ceremony with you. And if there's someone who speaks the language, they might be able to explain or break down certain things to you. One thing I will say is, if you do want to go to a ceremony and you have the opportunity to do so, go. I think it's a great experience. I think it's interesting as hell seeing the I think it's interesting as hell seeing the newbies and seeing their little faces when they first experience Vodou. And so you go ahead and try it. Don't let people scare you out of going to ceremonies in the US. They're fine. They're in many ways crazy, insane parties with a spiritual significance. So put any questions you have in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you could just, subscribe a little bit, I'd appreciate that. Maybe we turn on the notification buttons, because I'm trying to post a few videos a week, just helping you understand a little more about Vodou culture, and the experience, and helping you build your practice as Vodou descent.